Hello, viewers. Welcome to Jaipur Dialogue USA and Jaipur Dialogue India. And today is Friday the 13th. As it is, Friday the 13th has its own meaning in the calendars of the West. But today it is also a jihadi call for the Day of Rage, which is going on around the United States in college campuses for the reason that Hamas attacked Israel and Israel is hitting back. So the entire thing is about how to deal with terrorism. Now, I want to take a step backwards and I talk about it. As an Indian who has experienced terrorism in India back home when I lived there, I recall with deep regret that the entire West, Europe and America included, used to poo-poo and ridicule India's call for fight against terror. They used to say it is the battle of religious superiority, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, might, your terrorist is my freedom fighter. All these kind of arguments were given. Tragically enough, it was United States that had to learn the lesson of the impact of religious terror on 9/11, that infamous date, 9/11. Since that day, United States and the West became slightly cognizant of the fact that the religion-based terror was a truth, a reality that you couldn't ignore. Subsequently, whether it was Spain, London, many other parts of the world, United States and the Western powers have been fighting terrorism on their mainland and on their own soil. But there was a very important element to that. Even today, despite the religious intonation of the cause of jihad, democracies of the world haven't come to terms with how to handle it. United States had gained such significant sympathy and empathy post 9/11. It was all wasted and squandered away due to the mishandling of the post 9/11 dealings with terror. Just imagine the outcome of that fight or the journey is that same Taliban that America and NATO fought is today has the governance and ruling the country in Afghanistan. There can't be a bizarre element, call it the political settlement or defeat, military defeat, the way United States had to leave Afghanistan. Likewise, globally, we all know that the impact of Islamic terrorism, and I'm sad to say that, I'm not happy to talk about it, but let's kind of confront the reality. We know about that, as the saying goes, you got to know what motivates those people. People made narrative, oh, they were poor and that's why they were doing it. 9/11 taught us the lesson. They were very highly educated people who did that. So there is something called the religious trigger that happens in the minds of people. And that is enshrined in the texts that dominates their lifestyle and culture. We have to face the truth. If you do not address the truth itself becomes a victim. And that's the realization that the West has had. And I'm particularly very happy to see that from President Biden to Secretary Mr. Blinken and Secretary Austin made very emphatic statements in Israel, standing with their ally, saying that democracy cannot be used as a tool to further terrorism, and they committed their support. Very important point to bear in mind is the fact that United States had to commit and did commit its unflinching support to Israel in this fight of survival. The attack was not a fancy flight of a group of people. It was deliberate, planned, and implemented primarily to break the relationship between United States and Israel. Because globally, everybody knows that so long as America is standing behind Israel, Israel will not lose any war because it's a mighty power of America that is standing behind, justifiably so. The point is to create the dissent and fissure in the relationship between India and the Israel and the United States, so that if United States backs away, then Israel can be handled. That's the game plan. Unfortunately and happily enough, it failed because you can see this, what is happening around us. You can see this is very dangerous trend because the perpetrators of this entire activity, they are using the tools of democracy. You can see that Friday the 13th, there is a global jihad against non-Islamic countries because they are talking about going against everything that democracy stands for. And what is important, whether it's students in college campuses or people who are immigrants here, everybody unequivocally is supporting the cause of Palestine, misrepresenting the land versus religion conversation. So, my friends, it is very important to understand, and I urge all of you to read the Hamas covenant. It's remarkably important. You may or may not have the time to read the entire Sharia or Quran or everything else. But what emerges if you read those 36 articles, that it is designed to foil any attempt towards a settlement. It is designed towards enforcing a certain set of beliefs on that land. And religion and religious causes drive that motive. I'm not against any religion. I'm against the way religion gets practiced. And that's what is critical about understanding the phenomenon. You cannot impose, if there is a freedom of religion, you practice your religion your way. Leave me alone. That's the important message that the world needs to convey. It can't be my way or highway. This is what something the West, the Christian world, NATO world, American world has to configure. We are living in 21st century. And this is important to realize that regardless of whoever and whatever you pray to, it is important that we maintain the equity and equality in humanity. And that's important. We are all people after all. Men are men, women are women. In between, what you practice is your personal element. But the reality is that we are all born as men and women, globally, universally. Now, other part that comes to mind is, as this battle of rage is going on, violence has become the tool. And it's very difficult to attend or handle a lone wolf. As the saying goes, you have to be 100% times correct to prevent an untoward incident from happening. The one who wants to do it needs only one chance. So we as a democratic society, we as a country of rule of law, we as a society of rule of law, the democracies that we are, we have to protect and defend our rule of law. Political compulsions that allow the rules to be broken, that actually breaks us. Think about it from that perspective. If we allow, by virtue of certain things that we know now, we know that hundreds of thousands of people have been apprehended on the southern border who are not desired elements. They are, we might play with the words to define them X, Y, or Z, but the reality you can't avoid. So if those people who are coming to America, breaking the American laws, to expect that they will safeguard your laws, it's difficult to believe that. Because once you have tasted the advantages that accrue because you broke the law, you continue to exercise that pull and pressure. And that's what is important. The law-abiding citizens, the laws are designed for those people who consent to live within those rules of law. Those who are not, those who want to bring their own set of laws to impact you and I, they are not part of that law and order system. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an appeal to the people in the West. It's time you took cognizance of terror where it comes from. My saying XYZ doesn't matter. What matters is to calling the truth the way it is. The Islamic theology, unfortunately, induces the element of terror because that's something they don't want discussed. This is also the moment to come across with an understanding why the Islamophobia bill is being talked about in the United States by the likes of Ilhan Omar and others. The reason is very simple. They do not want you to discuss or exercise your freedom of religion or freedom of speech. These covenants of democracy are being challenged by a particular group of people that you cannot even ask a question. And that relates to a very significant, sad element, the element that they do not want to discuss because there are contradictions in the teaching. So it is like the preamble of Hamas openly says, obliterate Israel just as it obliterated others before it. So if you are running with that thought, where is the conversation? When they openly talk about the fact that they will not rejection of negotiated peace settlements because they feel only the kafirs will come and rule you, what are we talking about? What negotiations can you talk about? And that's what explains probably why so many peace initiatives failed, because it was one of their covenants written in 1988 to reject peaceful negotiated settlement. That's very important to bear in mind. So, my appeal to the entire Western world, to all democracies, is do not let our and your rule of law get defeated due to the belligerence of one set of people. Cannot happen, cannot be allowed. Thank you very much for watching us. Please like, subscribe, and support our channel. And, as I always say, truth must triumph. And the truth to triumph, you have to stand up for the truth, tell the truth, and endure the bitterness of truth. Thank you for watching.